But again, when we speak to one another in songs, giving scripture to one another when we're down, these are positive things we can do to help each other live and keep the light up. Singing music in your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks. And submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. The whole passage that we're talking about was breaking up into two categories of what we shouldn't do. A huge list, and you guys hopefully got down. What we should do, and there's a huge list, and hopefully you guys got down. Go back to this passage. Go back to the key verse. Hopefully by the end of the week, you guys will have to memorize this. You should. It's the key verse. But the next part is probably worth myself sharing about. It's going wild. I'm closing with this. I said earlier this morning that being a Christian is difficult. Following what God has taught us is not easy. And in my life, there's always challenges that come. And the hardest part for me is that I know what I need to do. A lot of you guys have been in church for very long. You know what you need to do. You know what you don't need to do. The question is, how do you keep that light going? How do you keep it on? How do you press forward? And I said this morning also that as you continue on with this camp, keep on thinking about how you keep this light on. Because the light's only effective if it's on. When it's off in the middle of darkness, there's no point to it. So how do we keep going? One of the few things that I do for myself is I'm part of a small group of pastors who talk and spend time with each other. Part of a book club, and I read. So again, you notice these are communities of people that keep us together. I have close friends that I keep in touch with who pray. Now I notice that you guys are pretty connected to each other here. Even though you live so far away, you guys know each other. It seems like you keep in touch. And some of you have already kept in touch with me through Facebook. That's Instagram. That's great. I'm on Facebook and MySpace and Zenville. Whatever it is. So there. I go as back as Friendster. Which is pretty scary because, people think I'm crazy on geek or something. But that's one way. Use whatever God's given you. Cell phones are great. Your sprint 9 minutes start at 7 instead of 9, which is why I'm with sprint. But these are ways to keep us helping us through. Honestly, there's times like recently in my life, just going through a lot of things where why am I doing what I do? Why am I a pastor? 5 years ago, why didn't I take a job as an engineer and be making $120,000 right now, living comfortably up in San Jose, out of my grandma's garage? It would have been nice. And all of you doing is sitting in an office 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, have long weekends every week, to do whatever I want. At 23 at that time, I'm like, that would be the life, you know what I mean? Decent pay, and then 5 years later, I find myself at this church. I had a transition because I want to see so much more of God working within the community. My church wasn't coming with me. I'll be honest, there's so much more that God can do. I mean, I look at myself, again, and I saw the movie 300, and I see there's this connection that I have. Not in the sense that I want to do it all by myself, but the fact of the matter is there's so much that so few people could do in the kingdom of God. But yeah, I was discouraged because I'm always doing it. Not in my church, not in my area. And so I questioned, why do I need to keep my life going? And some of you might be able to identify with this. Where you're at, maybe in your school, maybe in your church, or in your community. You may be one of the few people who say you're Christians and actually living it out. Maybe you're lucky and fortunate to be in a larger group of spirit. But the light still needs to keep on going. I was sitting and talking with Oliver earlier today, and he had some about our ministry. And it was actually relieving for me because I was actually still able to give him an answer of why I do what I do. A few days ago, someone asked me that same question. And every time I write it down or I talk about it, I remind him. Again, this is why we take notes. This is why I journal. This is why you should journal. To write your thoughts. God, what have I committed myself to? About 7-8 years ago, I wrote an email to a bunch of my friends and said what the ministry was in my last church before I left. And I still have that email to this day. My dad gave it to me. When I got that job in San Jose as an engineer, my dad gave me this letter. He said, read it. Now, what is it? So just read it. And I read what I wrote. At that time it was a year and a half ago. Now it's been like 7 years and I read it. And I was like, wow, who wrote this? And I read the whole thing. It was inspiring. It was passionate. The person who wrote it, remember, he was talking about how difficult the situation was and how he would stay through no matter what. Because as Christ's example, he would still keep on going. I read it all the way to the end and I realized something. That I was the one who wrote that email. My dad handed it back to me. He said, you need to keep going. Because this is what God has taught you to do. You need to keep going because this is what you were meant to do. You need to keep on going because God has told you, prepared you, and designed you to be this way. How do I keep my life going? It's not just me. It's the people around me. The friends, the family. Your leaders here. That'll keep you. But you need to put your trust in them and keep relying on by encouraging them. Again, submitting to others for Christ's sake. Encouraging them. You're here at camp. This is a good encouragement for leaders. But then at the same time, hopefully we can encourage you back to keep going. Go back to camps. Go to church. Go to your groups. Connect. And when you're down, it says, again, right here, it says, speak honestly. Be honest. Be truthful. Whatever situations in your life, don't hide it from your brother or sister. Because it's just going to kill you inside eventually. Your light, at one point, will be bright, sure, especially after camp. But if we're not honest with where we're at, we're not encouraging each other. And life slowly dims, slowly dims, and it fades away. Or in some of your situation, like some of the churches in Southern California are like, when there's nothing there for the students. No youth group, no program. It's like getting a match. When they're together, there's this huge flame. But then when you go back to your local churches, it's like throwing that flame in a bucket of water. So again, my challenge for you is this. You saw this morning. You saw the challenge God has given us. And again, if we trust in Him, He will work great things through us. But to keep your light shining means you have to stick to it. You have to form a renewing of your mind. And from your mind, you have to push, so that whatever comes into your eyes, your senses, goes into your mind. Then it comes out to the actions that you do, or the habits that you set up. Your heart will connect with that eventually as time goes by. And when your heart kind of fades away, which hearts always do, it's the habits of the mind that leads you back. So I pray to God that you guys will be able to be lights in the ways of creation. Let's bow our heads and reflect on this. Again, like I said, you're going to be starting school in a few weeks, or maybe next week, or right when you can't fast. You can't be useless if lives aren't changed, if habits aren't formed, if decisions aren't being made. The question is, what are you going to change? What mindset are you going to alter? And what habits do we need to form?